it's about pitching.
Oh, yeah.
And that young lady is unreal. That changeup pitch of hers,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah.
They are.
She is, yeah.
And you know,
Tell me, let's be a naysayer. They bought this team. What's your reaction to that?
well, all's fair in love and war now because the rules are the same.
Yep. Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Leonard, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. It's a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. I'm with host Jimmy Lackey here, CEO and host of Kids Inc. And my name's Lance Leonard. We can't thank you enough for joining us. We have it's number 49. We don't want to jinx 50, but we have a special guest coming in, and we hope that works out for everybody. But we can't thank you enough for joining us. It's been a blast. We've started a tradition here. We are at number 49, and we take a 49 that might have inspired us as a player or our favorite team or a player we played with in high school who wore that number, or just a number 49. I went car last week with Jimmy Johnson for NASCAR, but it's 49. Who's the most famous cowboy? 49. Dallas Cowboy. 49. 48.
Well, I'll tell you who I think it is.
Yeah.
But it wasn't when he played for the Cowboys.
Who is it?
Tom Landry wore 49 for the Giants.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah, he wore 49 for the Giants.
That's a good pull right there, yeah.
But I was struggling. I mean, I
Yeah.
was setting up last night, and I mean, I'm honestly, I'm Googling. I had not looked in the book.
Yeah, cool.
But
cool. I like
I'm
that.
Googling, I'm looking around, and I'm going, man, nothing's firing at me. Carlton Bogus, our number one listener out there, sends me a text this morning. He says, you got to go with Ron Guidry. And I thought, okay, I'm in.
Thanks, Carlton, for
I
always listening.
pulled the book out when I got in here a while ago. Guess who the face of 49 is?
Ron Guidry.
Ron Guidry.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
That is a great one.
So
Pitched for
I'm
the
gonna
New York
give I'm gonna
Yankees.
give Carlton my plug there because I was stumped on 49.
Had the great mustache.
I was
If you're into
stumped on 49.
mustaches, yeah. Ron Guidry.
There were some mentioned names that I recognize, but it's not 49's not a popular
No,
number.
not at all. You do learn that. Mine was obvious just because I'm a
Oh yeah, I knew who this was going to be.
Yeah, yeah. Bronco fan, Dennis Smith
Oh yeah.
was a safety there from 1981 to 1994. Vicious hitter.
Yeah.
But did you know he played with Ronnie Lott? They were safeties together. Because I kind of looked at it, it's like,
At SC?
at USC.
Really?
They were in the same backfield together, safety backfield together. And they're both known as two of the most vicious hitters in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
But
Lott was,
how about that team? And they did win a national championship when they were both there. So John Robinson was the coach.
Yeah, Lott was the real deal.
With your Ron Guidry thing, when I was looking at it after, I said, well, who wears 49? Something about knuckleball pitchers. Tim Wakefield and Charlie
There's a story
Huff.
about that in the book.
Yeah, and Charlie Huff.
I
Both
looked
wore.
right before you got here, and in the book that talked about the knuckleballers.
Yeah. But 49, wow.
Tough number.
Especially in football. I mean, you
Well, you're not going to have any basketball players because referees don't want those upper numbers. Think about
very
it.
true.
You're 0 to 5 typically on your numbers in basketball. It's not always that way, but single digits you can go up to 9.
Yeah,
but
because they'll give you that.
But
Because they actually flash the number.
typically above 10, you don't see much other than 0 to 5 at the ending number because of officials.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a hard, fast rule, but I know growing up that was
No, I like that.
that was
I like
the
that
reason.
a lot.
That was
yeah.
the reasoning why we didn't have certain numbers.
Dennis Smith, number 49, man. Bronco fans loved him, but he suffered those 3 Super Bowl losses.
Yeah.
He suffered 3 of them. He said so he never got the ring, and things like that. But the old Denver Bronco with the horse
coming out of him.
Yeah. He wore that helmet, so that's always near and dear to anybody up there. But he also impacted the NFL. He was that good. People know him. But man, 49, 48 and 49 as far as jerseys.
Yeah.
Kind of.
We're going to get into some of that as we go along.
Well,
your skill people are 50 and below typically.
We have some good 50s, obviously, some good 60s, 70s, '80s with wide receivers.
You'll get back into
the '90s are going to be unique.
Yeah.
Although '99 is going to be pretty obvious. Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, you get into
just going to start back over maybe.
Skill positions. You're going to have a whole lot easier time than.
Yeah. Hey, I've got to keep a tradition alive, and we're going to bring Maddie in as well. We'll give her a break though on this one. But best thing that happened to you today, Jimmy? What's the best thing?
Well, my Maddie, the golden doodle, had to go to the groomer today, so she's getting all prettied up today. It was time for a summer haircut. So
does Maddie like that?
She doesn't mind it.
Okay,
no, she's real good. She's real calm.
And, she is calm,
and she'll do well. She looked at me like, "Are you really going to leave me?" But she was cool. She took off on her leash with the girl, and we'll get her back this afternoon. She'll be looking good. So yeah.
How often do you do it in the summer?
Oh, she'll probably get a couple of cuts in the summer.
Every 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, 8 weeks.
So you can get in that fast. You guys are that famous.
No. We have to go nowhere. And a lot of people won't do doodles. It's fun just because of their size.
Really?
You know, you can do a poodle. It's small and you can get them on the table. But doodle, you got to have some space. I mean, she's 60-plus pounds.
Yeah.
But her and her sister both, Kennedy, our middle daughter has her sister, and both of them go there. It's funny because Posey's real straight-haired and Maddie's real curly. And so, but they do a great job. We take them there on, it's on Sauncey, or BFW Road, K9 Country Club.
K9 Country Club.
They go there, and they do the people there do a really good job with the doodles. So.
Teddy Ballgame got his haircut last week, and he looks totally different from when he's a little Shih Tzu, and he looks like he's not the same dog. You know what I mean? But
our Shih Tzu and our Yorkie go to Critter Camp. They go to a different place.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, we try to spread our business around. We know a little bit of people over at Critter Camp.
That's cool.
We try to spread it around a little bit over there. They've been good to my mother-in-law for years. So
yeah, the lady who cuts our hair just basically does it in the back of. She has like a little shop in her house, but. I will say that she says he's always good, but I don't know, because I've seen him with the vet, and he hates that stuff. You know what I mean? So
all three of mine are pretty cool about it. Even the Yorkie, he's due. I gotta call and get him an appointment. He's due for a summer cut for sure.
Yeah. Maddie, for the week, what's the bet? We're not pinning you down to what's early on this day, but for the best thing that happened to you this week, yes.
Nick got home at 3 a.m. last night, which meant he got to stay home this morning. So I got to spend the whole morning with him, which is never. So that was probably the best.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Today.
That's always good. That's always good. Yeah, I like that. So. Yeah. Hey, what's on your mind today? Let's start off with you. I usually kick it off.
The Knicks fired their coach. Can you believe that?
No, I don't know how you can be a coach in this day and age. You know what I mean? You can't please everybody. And I'm talking pro, college.
Oh, sure.
New York seems to be there's something in the airwaves there in New York City.
It's all about.
I mean, I would love to have been famous enough or talented enough to actually work in New York City for a few years. It is the city.
Sure.
But my gosh, they treat their athletes and coaches like they just shove them off.
So I wrote these things down.
Yeah. Go for it.
Had a young team.
Yeah.
Very young team.
Yes.
Beat the defending champs, Celtics. Back-to-back 50-win seasons. First time they've done that since 95. And he's one of the winningest coaches. He passed Riley on the all-time winning coach list. It's what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Do you think it's behind the scenes, Jimmy, where he's maybe not kissing up to the owners or
I did a
player or two might have said, look.
Yeah, here's what I was reading.
Players run the NBA.
Here's what I was reading.
Yeah.
He is famous for playing his starters longer, more minutes than the typical team does. And so that wear and tear on your studs, is up for criticism, I guess.
It worked,
but if you got back-to-back 50-win seasons, something's working right.
Yeah.
And I don't keep up with the NBA at all. But I read that on the ticker there, and I had to do a little digging. I'm thinking, man, these guys just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
that doesn't typically happen. And so it's New York, like you said. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. You know, the expectation is win, baby, win. And I know nothing about the Knicks organization or anything about the NBA, but man, I don't know that I want to be the one to follow that.
Yeah. The outside looking in, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, the NBA is a long season, but if you're a player who's really good and you want to play, you know what I
They
mean?
wanna
Even
play.
those guys do. I saw some people questioning his in-game moves, you know, reactionary moves weren't the best, or whoever knows this, but they had some tremendous comebacks. They lost a couple games they maybe shouldn't have, but I mean, I'm with you. It's got to be something that did not click with management, in my opinion, and it happens. That does happen, but I was shocked, you know. I mean, but you have to start over.
And in those Eastern Conference Finals, correct me if I'm wrong, they came back from 20 down twice.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think
yeah,
twice
yeah,
during
yeah,
this.
yeah.
And maybe, you know, maybe you shouldn't be down that much. I don't know. But you found a way to get out of a hole.
The thing that I can't imagine any coach would ever want to coach in the NBA, because you're not the coach.
No.
The players are the coach. Look
I
at
would
the
go
Lakers.
as far as to say maybe even the agents are the coaches.
Ooh, wow! I like that. Yeah, contracts go through the agents. Some people can handle it very well. Obviously, Popovich kind of made sure they got a certain player in there. If you noticed, those guys kind of were coachable in their own ways. I'm sure they were superstars behind the scenes and all that, but guys like that could get it done. But
Riley, Jackson, those guys, you know, they could handle those egos.
yeah, I tell you what, the Joker in Denver seems to be. I'm sure he's cantankerous and all that, but once he's playing, he's coachable. You know, it's like this guy's going to pass the ball a bunch, do whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be very frustrating to be a coach.
Well, at any level in the professional league, I mean, let's face it, you're managing egos.
Yeah,
And to their credit, they're there for a reason. They're the best of the best.
yeah.
And
They worked hard to get there, and they deserve
they
money.
they want to play.
Yeah.
They want to be on the field. They want to be on the court. They want to be in charge.
I think basketball would be one of the toughest because there are so many games. You are with them so often. You know, there's so many outside elements, and it's a very individual. Hey, they want their money. I get it. You know what I mean? That's why Oklahoma City's so unique. You know, if you notice, when one of them interviews, they all show up behind him in support. They started that a long time ago, that it's not for show, now that they're in the finals and all that. But they'll have their issues once this team wins the NBA title. I said that. Oklahoma City will win it all. Once they win that, then you got to pay guys, and you can't keep them all.
Yep.
And you bring in these different personalities that just don't fit. So I think NBA, and then like you said, there are the agents. They're getting all this money. How they handle it, some of them don't. Mm-hmm. Where football, you know, there's still a bunch of guys out there, you know, and there's 50 plus guys in your locker room. So even though you are the superstar, most of them are just there doing a job.
And I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to make a statement, and it's probably uneducated at the very best. But just by looking at these guys, if you rolled the clock back 15 years, these guys are bigger than they used to be, too.
Oh, totally.
I mean, they're not Charles Barkley big, but they're big.
They're big. They're Charles Barkley.
And so, you know, when they're going up and pounding up and down that court, they don't play the greatest defense by any means, but the pounding that their bodies take for 82-game season at the weight levels that they're carrying these days, you know, kudos to them, because it's brutal.
Very much so.
It's brutal.
The NHL and the NBA season is too long. The reason we know is when you watch playoff basketball and playoff hockey, you see how great it can be.
Yep.
And so you have this game on January 20th. You know what I mean? And they don't care.
Yeah.
They just don't care. You know what I mean? They play like they don't care. So, but shocker. I don't understand it. You know, we're not behind the scenes. But New York, you know, I know there's pressure there, but there's pressure everywhere. But, you know, they really do some crazy stuff with athletes as well as coaches.
Makes you wonder how much behind the scenes does the media market own of the Knicks, because they're disappointed right now with the Pacers and, the Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
The media markets
the
did
whole
not fare
world,
well. Yeah.
Especially when Oklahoma City's probably going to win it, because they do play defense, by the way. And I think they would be fun to coach right now.
Yeah.
Now, those egos will change once they win it.
Sure.
Those salaries will change, and people come try to get some of your players. So it's crazy. Hey, this week we have the Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame. Jimmy, that's what I wanted to bring up. We have Scott Tankersley, Natalie Ritchie, Austin Johnson all coming in. It's going to be really, really cool. These three I know very well. Well, I covered them all personally, and pretty proud of what they've accomplished. But what do you think of this class coming in?
I know each one of them. Watched Natalie and watched Austin from the time they were little bitty. I can remember Austin running around our 3-on-3 event down when we were downtown.
Yeah.
Had his little rat tail in the back.
Yeah.
When he was younger. And I can remember Natalie came out and did a worship service for us on Sunday morning one of those years.
Played at Texas Tech.
Played at
and
Tech.
High.
Austin played at Oklahoma, played with Blake Griffin and that bunch back in the day. And I obviously watched their high school careers. We ran those basketball tournaments during those times. And then I've known Scott. Scott's a year or two younger than me.
Okay.
Just one of the best guys you could ever meet. And then on top of the fact that, the way he's handled his deficiency in hearing through the years just makes it even that more special. But that even aside, he's just one of the best guys you'll ever meet. Good man. And I'm so proud for him. I was telling him, John Mark did a little press conference yesterday, kind of teasing the media a little bit, and I appreciated all of them covering that for him last night. And I made the comment, this is probably across the board the youngest inductee group that we've ever had.
True. Then I
mean, if you take the average age of that bunch, it's probably lower than probably by a lot of any class we've ever had before, because typically most of the people that we honor are retired and now they're up in age, and this group, what are Natalie and Austin, probably early 40s at best.
Yeah.
And so and Tank's probably crowding right at 60, and so it's a young group, and I kind of like that. Selfishly, I like that there's only three for a lot of reasons. Obviously, for the length of the service, but number two, I think it makes it even that much more special. We were talking in the media luncheon yesterday. I just brought up the fact. I said, John Mark, how many do we have now? And he said 210. And how many years we've been doing this? 67. Because they were talking about how elite it is to be a member of the Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm sitting at the desk with 182 right here. So we're up to 210 now in 67 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty elite.
Yeah,
and
I can
with
just tell
all
you.
of the athletes and all the coaches and all the members of the media and all those that have poured their hearts and souls into sports in the Texas Panhandle, for only 210 people to be honored in 67 years, it's pretty special in my opinion. So kudos to my partner here, because he's number 182. John Mark's number 183. And, I remember that one very well, because that's the one I had to MC.
Yeah, you MC'd it, yeah.
And if you'll remember,
one of our fastest
I
of
was
all
fixing to say,
time.
if you'll
Yeah, you should be
recall,
proud of that.
we were less than 2 hours because they did not come here and me speak that day, and I knew that. And so I took advantage of the opportunity just to get it done, and let's go and let's honor these people and talk to the people we're here for, not.
Yeah, no, well said. I will say this, just recalling it, it's such a special day you don't realize for your family as well, until, and I got emotional. Once my dad passed away, I started crying like crazy at all these things. But once that jacket, I wasn't able to verbalize it when it happened to me. When they put the jacket on, I turned around and I just started crying. Because, Jimmy, when I look at that wall, when you're in the Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame here at Kids Inc., you can go visit it. It's unbelievable. But I looked at that wall, and I'd probably talked to over 100 of those personally. You know what I mean? So to be a part of that, that's what hit me.
Yeah, I can
and
walk
then I
down
looked
that
down, my
wall.
mom was there, who, was way up in age and in a wheelchair at the time, and I was like, wow, this is too much.
I can walk down that wall and point to the first person I met,
Yeah.
And it's early in the
Yeah.
in the bunch because most of the time it was a WT grad. Back in the day, I ran the alumni office at the university, and so I knew those folks. And, there's Mr. Farley, number 4,
Yeah.
the founder of our program here at Kids Inc. And then Joe Fortenberry, and I know his family, Oliver and that bunch. And, and he's number 1.
Yes.
And so you go back and you look at that wall and start at 1 and go to the present. Yeah, there's a lot of folks on there that I knew, and a lot of folks that my dad knew when he was in his coaching days.
Yeah, and interviewed and all that. And I was
yeah.
like, man, yeah. That's what hit me, but it was kind of cool. Real quick, Scott Tankersley was basically deaf at birth, you know what I mean? And didn't let that stop him at all. Maybe they'll tell the story. It's going to be quite an emotional speech because his daughter will be. You can understand Tank once you've been around him a lot of times, Jimmy. But when you haven't, it's not the. If you read lips, obviously he read lips like the best in the world. It's amazing. But anyway, he will talk about that. But his mom would hold a word behind him in a mirror, just the word like cat, like just the word. Think about that like dog. He's never heard that word. She would hold it there and pronounce it, and they would go over that hour after hour after hour.
Yep.
And just an amazing commitment. And then he became a very diversified coach. Like he has state championships in wrestling, in basketball. He coached softball at Bushland. Excellent baseball player himself. Just very versatile. And then, like you said, now he's a minister and for the Deaf Church in Amarillo. So his life, his legacy of his life is just absolutely amazing.
I saw a really, really heartwarming scene one day. I went to a funeral of some friends of ours who grew up, I want to say next door or right there on the same block with Tank, who also had a son who had hearing deficiencies, and he actually spoke at the funeral. And then the other son, who was completely deaf, was there, and Tank was there. They all grew up. These guys grew up together. I'm 63. Tank's probably a year or two younger than me, and to see their camaraderie and their connection, having those same situations that they grew up with together. There was about 3 of them there that all grew up together with the same kind of situation. Was really heartwarming because, man, they just act like you and I. They're no downside whatsoever in the mix. And whether they were talking to me or they were talking amongst themselves, it was all one and the same to them, and it was really, really cool to see.
I do remember this. Hopefully our 50th guest will be Larry Dipple of Amarillo High, the winningest football coach in AISD history, also the former president of the Texas Coaches Association, the largest coaches association in America, or one of the largest groups in America, over nearly 20,000. But Tank played at Caprock, football as well. Think about that. You're not hearing things. That's really brutal. But he would go stand by the sideline as Dipple was calling in the play. And he could read their lips, and he would go back in and tell them what the play is. Yep. So Dipple told me he had to turn his back during the Caprock games when Tank played to make sure he wasn't getting the plays.
What year did you start at the Globe?
81.
Okay, so do you remember the
82.
kid from Dalhart, Tiggs?
Yes.
Charlie Tiggs?
Yeah.
My dad was the starter at the North Plains Relays, and he and my dad had a visual.
Wow.
It was really cool to see. Those folks with those deficiencies make up for it in their own way.
Oh, yeah. They learn.
I'm blind in one eye.
Yeah.
The one thing you don't want to do is scream or goose me from this side because I'm going to come up punching. But, when you're missing a sensory, you have ways of making that up. But I remember Charlie Tiggs from Dalhart. I would ask Dad,
great runner.
And he and Dad had a eyesight together when Dad would put that gun in the air. Charlie knew, and boy, he was good too.
Yeah, he was great.
He was really, really good.
He was great, yeah. Natalie Ritchie played at Amarillo High and Tech and basketball, and then they had that AAU team that was so famous and all that.
That her dad coached.
And that several of those girls young women went on to be Division I basketball players. But she is the all-time leading scorer in both boys and girls in AISD history, and just a gorgeous shot. And here's how you develop one of the prettiest jump shots in the history of Amarillo is her dad started her out about 1 foot and take a jump shot. She was not allowed to take a shot at 10 feet
Yep.
for like a long time until she could prove that she could take a jump shot at 3 feet. And that's how she learned it.
Wow.
I know. And so you're not shoving it, you're shooting it. You know what I mean? And then Austin Johnson was, that was one of the most prolific Paladuro teams we've ever had. The very first Paladuro team at that school actually went on to win state.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Our high school coach was on that team, Jim Reed.
Yes.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
There you go. And so Austin, but just an amazing scorer. Just when you think Paladuro basketball, you thought Austin Johnson, and then went on to OU, then played, pro. But just an incredible team they had. And Jeff Evans was the head coach then and got him into the state basketball tournament. Hey, they're excited to get there. Jimmy, real quick story. Paladur's excited to get there. At that time, it was at the Drum,
Yep.
The Drum had these ridiculous rules.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could not warm up in the gym. They did not know that.
They had the side
They had a
gym.
session in between, so it was like 2 hours. So they're there. They're due diligent. Get in there. They wouldn't let them in the gym. And so it's like a 20-minute process. You got to go get your photo taken. The Joe Lombards of this world know this routine so well. You go practice at another gym, then show up. And then you have the whatever 18 minutes between games to that's your time on the floor.
Yep.
But that door was locked. They couldn't get in.
Similar to the track meet. I mean,
Yep.
It's just the way they
You
run
warm
them.
up over on the football stadium, and then you show up and go. Yeah. So congratulations to those three. We're so proud of them, and I'm interested to see their speeches, especially Tanks with his daughter getting up there and getting to tell what her dad. She knows his feelings. She knows what he wants to say. Knowing Tank, he's a preparation man. Trust me.
Yeah.
This thing has been practiced over and over, so it'll be a precision thing.
And here's what I'll say about Natalie, too, that made it so much fun when she was playing at Tech. And we used to go down to a lot of these games.
Yeah.
Think about this. Natalie was out there. Jolie Ayers.
From Canyon.
Brooke Bauman.
From
Brooke
Canyon.
Walthall at Randall, coach now.
Yeah.
Casey Jackson from Paladuro.
Paladuro.
Who else was out there?
Well, they had like.
I know those girls right off the bat. You had two from Canyon. You had Natalie. You had Casey.
Well, you
had all these Amarillo kids and Canyon kids on the floor for Tech.
Yeah,
it was
fun
fun.
awesome.
It was fun to go watch.
It was great to go
because
watch.
they were starting and making their.
And I will say, Natalie Rich is one of the nicest persons.
She's
They're
pure
all nice.
class.
Don't
She's
get me
pure class.
Yeah, don't get me started, but unbelievably nice person. So, but that's cool. So, hey, a couple more things on my agenda today. The Corn Ferry Tour will be announced as we're speaking next week. That it is here. That is the minor leagues of golf, just the next level. There's 26 stops. Amarillo has one officially now. It'll be June. They don't know the exact days of the slot, so I don't want to speak out, but I have met with the Corn Tour guys, and it'll be in the middle of June most likely, and it will definitely be at La Paloma. They're going to do a lot of work on the course as well. So one of the funny stories, though, I got to tell you, Jimmy, is when we get up to a driving range, there's plenty of room, okay?
Sure.
The one at Tascosa is kind of elevated. They're going to fly the net, whatever's back there. They're going to fly it into those houses behind them. They have to figure out a way. They will shut down Tascosa Country Club, that week anyway. And so maybe they're thinking about one of the par fives that will be the driving range.
Wow.
Because they hit it so far. But that's how detailed you have to be to get these events. But a shout out, Alex Fairley had a lot to do with this. His company, his side insurance company. It's not a side, but it's part of the company. But they will be the sponsor. And he's not a golf guy at all, really. Just wants to bring an event to Amarillo that the community can enjoy and kind of get Amarillo's name on the map, even if it is golf, but people will be talking about it.
My son-in-law will be excited to hear that. He's a pretty good golfer himself.
So you're going to maybe try to break
in?
in?
He'd probably try to – I'm sure he'll try to qualify.
That's cool.
He always tries to qualify for the U.S. Open, and so,
Yeah. Love it.
Long shot, but if you don't try, you don't know.
Yeah, no,
So,
you don't know. So, but these
You had
golfers,
told me about this, and I've kept my mouth shut, so I haven't said a word about it till now you brought it out. But
Your thoughts?
well, I worked the Hogan Tour back in the day when we had
Wow.
the Hogan Tour here at Emerald Country Club, and it's fun. You know, I can remember John Daly came and played in that tournament, and my buddy Willie and I were working number 2, which is a par 3. We were working the green. All we did was hold up the quiet signs. But, you know, while the hitters hit, we had to back away behind the trees and let them hit in. So we followed Daly over to 3 tee box and got to see, the word is you need to watch this guy hit, and holy cow.
Yeah.
Man, did he swing a
Rip
golf
and
club.
rip. It was real.
But Charles Howell III and some of those guys were here in that tournament back in that day. So there were some real players in that Hogan Tour back in the day, and this would be very similar in terms of the talent and the parity in golf. Outside of Scotty Scheffler is amazing.
Oh yeah, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
They just don't have a PGA Tour card. They have maybe a hiccup here, and they haven't proven themselves yet. Is basically all it is.
These are the things I watch. I watched a lot of softball and a lot of golf this past weekend, and to watch Nicklaus's face when Scotty Scheffler took the lead, and then as it became pretty evident throughout Sunday, he's proud of Scotty Scheffler, the way the man acts, his humbleness, the whole 9 yards. Nicklaus is really proud of that guy. You can just tell.
Yeah, and just the way he plays.
And Jack Nicklaus is my all-time favorite.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was special because he's getting up there in age now, and to watch him from the sideline, and then Scotty said, this guy's pretty good too, and so he took time to talk to Griffin, and told him, he said, your time's coming, and when those guys from that era pump those younger guys up, I just think that's the decorum in golf that I really like, and all the etiquette that's involved in golf, and the history part of the game. Because they'll lose some of that when the Nicklauses and the players and those guys are gone, and
it's going to be sad. Yeah.
So for a guy that grew up playing the game, it was pretty special to watch that aspect of it. Scheffler's just out of this world right now.
Yeah, nothing bothers him.
Yeah.
One of the greatest comments, though, he has a 14-month-old baby.
Mm-hmm.
And as babies do when you have them outside, pooped. And so if you look at the photos, there's poop on the back of the baby's. He just won $4 million, and he's picking up a baby, and loving it.
That's
what I
fun.
mean? Yeah. So
He's pretty good. He won $10 million in May.
yeah. Oh, I mean, it's
Three firsts and a fourth.
He's already at 80, 90. He's already third on the all-time money list, okay? And that's behind Tiger and Rory.
Wow.
Tiger's like at 120, and Scotty's like in the low 90s, already 90 million. Obviously, the money has changed.
Sure. Oh,
Because
yeah,
what's sad about that list? Go find Jack Nicklaus. Go find Arnold Palmer. It's like 240th or something. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm telling you, this has been within the last year, and I don't know where Liv falls in this, so don't.
They don't put Liv on the PGA.
Ryan Palmer was 37th on the all-time money list. Last time I looked.
Yeah, he's a top 50. Yeah,
I mean,
I know. Yeah.
And
he's over 30 million.
Yeah, the guys that played back in the day when I watched, they didn't win very much.
Yeah, when you see a Jack Nicklaus past 200, you're like,
that's the power of the media.
that's just wrong.
That's the power of the media and what it can do to bring sponsors in.
Sponsors.
Yep,
They've
it's all
learned how
about.
to
It's
sponsor.
all
I
about.
mean, he won
sponsor.
$4 million.
Yeah.
For
We won 10 in May.
yeah, that's crazy. So speaking of the softball, I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh man.
Texas Tech, as we're speaking, Texas kick off their best-of-3 series for the national championship. I don't know if we'd ever be saying that with Texas Tech, but obviously a new coach in Jerry Glasgow, a new pitcher in Kennedy, and Najjar. I mean, she's just amazing. And of all teams that Tech has to beat, it's Texas. However, Texas has never won a national championship in softball either. So when you see this, you'll know.
Yeah, the nerves will be equal there. They won't be like, oh, we've done this before.
Yeah.
Greatest call by a coach that I've seen in a long time was that play from third the other day when he sent her home, and the batter did a great. That was rehearsed, but that batter stood in her pose, took the ball, took the pitch, and stood there. And here she comes from third, and she's totally blocking the catcher.
Yeah.
Legally. Blocking. Catcher goes to throw the ball back to pitcher. Kid from Texas halfway home and Boom,
steals
slides
home,
right
yeah.
underneath the catcher.
Yeah,
Great call.
Even to score the winning run against Oklahoma, it's
Yeah.
a very short fly ball.
Yep.
And he goes like, "You're going.
Yeah.
What do
Get
you
back on-
hesitate
Yeah, tag
for?
up. Let's go.
You're the fastest one we got." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so it's kind of fun. One thing that's unique about this, Jimmy, that I wanted to ask you, Ashley. So Jerry's only been in Lubbock a year. Same with Kennedy. You know what I mean? It's not like they have this history with Lubbock, Texas.
Yep.
And yet here they are, possibly bringing them a national championship. What do you think of that?
Well,
And it's very decorated. She made $1.2 million NIL. Had pitched Stanford, was the player of the year for Stanford, and went from Palo Alto to Lubbock, Texas.
when he came from Louisiana, brought 4 kids or
think
so
4 or
with
5,
him.
yeah.
And he's pitching against his former pitcher.
Yeah, I know. That was such a tearjerker.
Class act in
Yeah.
and of herself. She was a class act. But his 3 daughters, counting him and his 3 daughters, have all either played or coached in the Women's College World Series. So they have a tremendous history in softball. They showed, when he was coaching them as little kids. And he didn't take a college job till he was in his 50s.
Yeah.
And didn't take his first head job until he was 60. Now he's 65 and he's head coach at Tech. I'm going to tell you right now, I think Tech will win, and I'm going to tell you why. For the same reason they're there now. It's about pitching.
Oh, yeah.
And that young lady is unreal. That changeup pitch of hers,
Yeah.
holy cow.
Yeah.
They are.
She is. Yeah.
And
What? Tell me. Let's be a naysayer. They bought this team. What's your reaction to that?
well, all's fair in love and war now because the rules are the same.
Yep.
And let's think about it across the board. Tech's stepping up to the world. I mean, they're spending money in most of their sports that they've never done before, and let's give credit where credit's due. Couple of Canyon Amarillo guys are at the root of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Dusty Womble, Tasco's high school grad.
Yeah.
John and Cody,
Cody
Canyon High School grads,
Yeah.
are supporting their university in ways that they've never had support before.
Yeah. And with what passed, as I understand it, what just passed legally, this will all change.
Sure.
A little bit, but
Sure, well, and needs to.
yeah, I agree. It needs to. It's wrong. But I will say this: anybody saying, "Oh, Tech bought this team," Oklahoma pays more NIL money than Texas Tech softball does. Okay, to their players. It's just not one player's getting a bunch of money, obviously. Yeah. But I think she's handled it very well. I really am impressed. She doesn't like to just go on and on when she's interviewed.
No.
I'm okay with that. I like that. But you can tell she's part of the team. It's not like, they know what they have on the mound, okay, in the circle as they call it. But she has pitched every pitch in the playoffs for Texas Tech. So it's exciting. What I hope happens is this, Jimmy, that it impacts the program in the future, that people want to come play in Lubbock because, hey, you have a chance to go to the World Series. And Coach Glasgow's holding him his own. He's unique the way you can just tell the way he coaches. Yeah. But I think it's a great story, and I'm with you. I'm hoping they win. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, you got a Texas team that is very gifted offensively.
Yep.
Maybe a little more than Tech right now. But you're right.
Without question.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Of all the money you spend on a player, do you think a fast pitch softball player, and in that mound, the pitcher specifically, do you think they have a chance to dominate a game more than any other player in any sport?
Possibly. When you have that skill set like she has, and you're 43 feet from that plate, and they're throwing it equivalency rates between 100 and 110.
Yeah.
That changes reaction time.
Yeah.
Immensely.
No, I think they have a chance to dominate a game.
Yeah.
Like the quarterback in a football game, it does impact it immensely, but you got to have somebody catch the ball. You have to have some blocking. There are a lot of other elements that the pitcher in a softball game doesn't have to deal with. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's the one position, just watching as much as I have lately because I've really enjoyed this run, can dominate.
What I've really enjoyed watching about the pitchers is this. They're playing in Oklahoma City. You know, they had some cool days early in the tournament. Then it got warm, and those girls are sweating. And you can see it. They're sweating profusely. What does that do to your hand and the ball when you're throwing that pitch? Does it have an effect? And now we're in the finals. What does it do with your nerves? And so the control, leaving the hand, is going to be, I think, the difference in most of these games as they go on. Did you see the pitch where the mud came off her cleat?
This is insane.
Came off her cleat, hits that piece of mud in midair halfway there, and goes in the catcher's eye. And the catcher slumps to the left, and everybody's going, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then the cameras had it so beautifully pegged.
What are have you ever seen anything that crazy?
Randy Johnson hitting a bird, that's about it.
That's what it compares to, actually. Yeah. Dirt comes off her cleat, goes in front of her, and then the ball hits it that she just threw, and so it picks up even more speed.
Explodes.
And the catcher, it's a strike, I think, actually. Yeah. And the catcher's like all of a sudden like.
And she caught the ball.
Yeah, she did.
But she slumped to the left. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
And then the umpire took a shot to the chest on national TV. Had a little comment about that. It was kind of funny, but it wasn't if you were him. But
yeah, not if you're him.
He took a hard shot, 75-mile-an-hour pitch off the foul tip, bang right there in the chest.
Man!
And had a comment when it hit. Yeah. It was. I actually went back and taped it because I thought it was one of those memes you'll hear from.
Yeah, that's what makes sports so fun. Little unique stuff like.
But the unique deal on the cleat, the mud coming off the cleat was crazy.
Yeah. I had one more for you. Do you have anything else?
Nope.
On my radio show, I do a radio show if you want to tap in sometime. It's a shameless plug, but it's called The Drive at 5 to 6 p.m., 102.9 FM. It's ESPN. But we have this cool contest, and I hope you sign up for it because I know you're a sports fan. Where and let's be clear here, this is Alpha Media. This just isn't Amarillo. Okay. So you're competing with all their stations. But the cool thing is, if you win the contest, you get 2 tickets to any professional event you want to go to, okay? And, very cool. What would you choose if you won?
So any sporting event?
Pro. And then my next question is, as you're thinking on
that, include the Masters?
That includes – no, it's team sports. Sorry.
That's what I figured.
It's the basketball, the baseball, the football.
Yeah.
Okay. The hockey. I'm sure we could get you into a soccer event.
You know, I think I'd want to go to a College World Series.
So but I mean, that's not a pro event, but I got you.
Well, yeah, so it's got to be a pro event. Okay.
And I'll give you this chance. Then my question I've been asking our listeners and our callers this week are not only that question, but then in history of all sports, amateur, whatever, what would you use those 2 tickets on? What event would you have to go to?
I'd probably have to go to Super Bowl just to say I went. I mean, if somebody's handing me the ticket, I'm probably going to have to go to Super Bowl.
I like it. I've never been there. I haven't been to Fenway or Wrigley, so I might waste
Been to Wrigley, I hadn't been to Fenway.
I might waste them on those 2 just
saw
to
Harry Carey at Wrigley.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, you saw the best. I would probably spend it on that. Some have said Dodger Stadium, get there. Yeah. But more of a stadium than an event for me, I would think. But so let's go back to that. And I wish it was like college as well, because I would love to see a Duke, North Carolina men's basketball game. You know what I mean? At Duke, obviously. But
yeah, I was sitting there thinking championship series. But, yeah, if it was any particular sporting event, I might have to rethink that because I don't think a Super Bowl is at the top of my list. I'd like to go to Lambeau sometime.
Yes, Lambeau would be an excellent one, Jimmy.
You know,
I think so, yeah. I've been there with the Chicago Bears and Packers game. But so if you had to go back in all-time history of all sports played, what would be the one event you wish you had you have 2 tickets for and you get to sit in there and watch it? I'll start, okay?
Okay.
I would say the 1980 Lake Placid Olympics, when you're seeing the USA, you're hearing the USA chants, taking on a Russia team that had beaten them, I think, in Madison Square Garden, by the way, like 12-0 or 10-0 a few weeks before, and watching that U.S. Olympic moment in person. That would probably be mine of all events.
I mean, single event, and obviously the ticket's not involved here, but the 86 Masters, when Jack came back to win the 86 Masters.
Very good one.
I would probably have to want to be at that one.
That's
if I could pick any one event,
you can pick that event.
I would want to be at the 86 Masters and watch that.
Wouldn't have mind been at, like, speaking of Super Bowls, maybe Baltimore and the Jets just to see that whole, AFL, NFL thing go on. Maybe a Muhammad Ali boxing.
Yeah, him and the Frazier match. Woo.
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
Yeah. There's some great ones, though. You know what I mean.
But Jack at age 46, winning the Masters for fifth time, I think
you wouldn't want to see the Cowboys win their first Super Bowl.
That wouldn't be at the top of my list.
Yeah,
not in major events like that. Just historically, no.
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, there's
Ice Bowl. That wouldn't have been fun to be at physically, but to see in person would have been pretty impressive.
Yeah,
It'd be pretty tough to go.
Yeah. Anything else on your mind?
No. If this will air after all the things that we've talked about today, I really truly hope, and people that know me know that I didn't go to Tech and haven't always been the biggest Tech fan, but I have a lot of friends down there.
Yeah, you do.
Tony Greystone's our volleyball coach down there. Krista's our women's basketball coach, and Rick and Mark were down there coaching for, and to get to see people that getting involved in the programs down there makes it even more special. And so, man, for all my friends that went to Tech and all these faithful people that are Red Raider fans around here, I would love to see those girls win this. Nothing against the Texas folks. Got a lot of friends that went to Texas as well, but man, I think it would be special for Lubbock to get a deal like this. They missed out on Oliva Chavez, and to follow this up and have an opportunity to win something that nobody expected, that would be an awesome. And like you said, put a stamp on a program, give them an opportunity to get on the map and be seen. I'd like to see them win this deal. So I hope when we come back with Coach Dipple next week, we can talk just a little bit about Tech winning the softball.
He's a sports fan.
Oh, yeah.
He'll give us impacts on that.
Coach was at Emerald High when my wife was coaching at Bonham, and he was so good to Kim.
Yeah, and, that's nice to know.
Grew up in Stanford, and my father-in-law was superintendent at Haskell, and one of his best friends was teammates with Coach Dipple. So we've had lots of cool talks through the years.
That is cool.
I've known Coach Dipple
one thing about Coach Dipple that we'll ask him about, obviously, is his staff stayed with him forever.
Oh, yeah.
That meant something was working there, that he was
came from
Hereford.
That's
because when you came to a Larry Dipple meeting, and this is coming from some young coaches once, he would look at him and say, "Hey, what's your thought?" And like they're like, he's really asking me. I better, and he was sincere about it.
Yeah.
If you had an idea that was the best in the room for that week's game preparation, he didn't care where it came from.
That's me.
That's his ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his ego.
That's me.
I got one quick Tech story, and we'll get out of here. So when the individual tickets went on sale for Texas Tech softball back in February, I was online right away. So I buy a ticket for the Houston series in Lubbock, and I pick the Sunday date, okay? That day rolls around, okay, whatever it is in April I think in April. And so I'm doing all my homework, and I'm going there for one reason, to see Najari Kennedy pitch. Guess what?
She didn't pitch that day.
No. They announced it early. She wouldn't even play. I mean, they rested her. I don't know why, but they did. She didn't even designate hit. So Rhonda and I didn't go. So I ate those 2 tickets.
That's like when the kids were young. We went to San Antonio, and this was when Tarasi's second or third year in the WNBA.
Uh-huh.
And so we bought tickets to go watch them play, and she didn't play. She was hurt.
I know. Anyway, that's my Tech story. So I probably should have gone down and experienced the game and all that. But
well, I hope for all my Tech fans, we can come back next week and talk about them winning a national title. I think that'd be awesome.
All right, Jimmy, thanks a lot today, man. I loved it. Yeah. Hey, this was the Fieldhouse Podcast. Remember, it's a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. And like we always like to say, we'll see you when we see you.